The opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Scarefest Radio, the radio you can see.
And hello everyone, and good evening, and welcome to Scarefest Television. The original broadcast date is November 27th, 2020. I am your host, Wes Forsyth, and I am joined tonight by my last-minute co-host, Mr. Chad Harlan. And thanks for doing this on such short notice, Chad.
Oh, always a pleasure. Just looking forward to whatever we decide to talk about tonight.
But have you noticed the emergency notices are getting shorter? Yeah,
and you know, I had almost 3 hours tonight to prepare. So, who? It's an abundance of wealth.
What's going on, everybody? First of all, Scott Porter, who was scheduled to be with us this evening, got in touch with me at 4 o'clock. Said, "Dude, I cannot do it. Something's come up, blah, blah, blah." And so I was, by 4:15, I was on the horn with Chad, trying to, get something to do on the show because Thanksgiving weekend, I hated to go through my little black book of celebrities and say, "Oh, you got nothing to do." But Chad, on the other hand, has told me he never has anything to do. So we thought this would be a fun night. So what we're going to do, everybody, we're going to talk about what we've, our latest, actually, I want to spend a good chunk of the show talking about, Twilight, because I binge watched the Twilight series this week. And so we're going to talk about that. Joe Lewis is going to join us at the 15-minute mark. I don't know if he'll even know what we're talking about, but whether he's watched it or whatever. But anyway, so he'll be around. Chad, have you noticed that nobody is talking about our impending snowstorm this time?
I've not heard all that much about it, but I've got a few messages warning me that it's on the way. I guess the stores are already empty, so there's no reason to rush out.
Well, see, my theory was different. Everybody that I know has already done all of their panic buying. They're stocked up on toilet paper, milk, and bread. So how much more toilet paper are you going to buy? Anyway, so we got
timing. Everybody's got Thanksgiving left over, so
yeah, that's true. Everybody's got food. Everybody is set for this one. But anyway, yeah, and here in Kentucky, they're predicting somewhere between like 0 and 24 inches. I don't know what the exact number is. And another thing I'm going to tell the viewers right now, I've already told Chad, I am on a new internet connection tonight. We've already ran into some bugs where I'm trying to stream at a higher frame rate now, or higher resolution, so that you can see the glorious winter beard as it takes place. But anyway, but the new internet connection that I got, everybody, is much faster than my old one, but we have not proven its stability. And it is through AT&T, which does not instill confidence in me, Chad.
I understand.
And I'm already getting a hell of a lag on Chad, so we might have to go back to the old frame rate, and everybody can just watch it 480p and be done with it. But whatever, we'll figure that out as we go. So tonight is kind of an experiment, since we kind of had to reschedule everything. And so if we drop everybody, just stick around. We'll be back on the air in a minute. We'll fix something. We'll do something. That's about all the bullshit I got. That's one thing, Chad. We have to use the F word at least once per episode now, and drop the word shit as often as we can, because YouTube is going to start monetizing all of the videos on their platform for themselves. Their algorithm, however, though, is going to separate out adult content. So in other words,
Okay.
in other words, Betty Crocker won't want to sponsor a show where we say the F word. I can't just do it randomly. It has to be in the context of a sentence. So everybody, you could expect the show to become more mature audiences, more audience oriented, just because of that. Just because that's my way of saying screw the system. Now, before we even get to Twilight, what have you been doing with yourself, Chad? Have you got anything new that you've been interested in?
I'm going back to catch up on stuff that everybody else has already watched. So I finally watched The Boys.
What'd you think?
I thought it was okay. I guess I like the more frivolous superhero movies, and but I did enjoy it. I'll stay tuned for the next season. I'm looking forward to Dean Winchester moving over.
Yeah, I'm kind of. He's playing everybody. He's playing like a Captain America type dude, is my understanding. Although apparently he's got some real issues, so we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, the Boys. I mean, I'm hearing. I think it's a computer in the background. I don't. I can see. I'll put it this way: if it's up to me to watch The Boys or a new Avengers movie, yeah, I'm going to go with the new Avengers movie. I see that, but at the same time, I like the, if not the gritty realism, I just like superheroes, and so if you put a superhero in front of me, I'm usually pretty good to go.
Yeah, like I said, I enjoyed it. It was. I don't know. It was a little dark. I enjoy my my Marvel superheroes that are light and funny.
Oh, well, you say that, but I've watched Deadpool like 3 times in the last week because Hulu has it now. It finally got it. It got part 1 and part 2. So I've been that's another thing on top of everything else. I have actually binge watched Deadpool because I still think that those are 2 of the greatest superhero movies of all time.
I will say I agree. That's the exception. I like Deadpool.
And we watched the one. There's gosh, I can't believe I forgot his name too. But anyway, it's Prime. It's one of their Amazon original series, I believe. And anyway, it's a thing about ghost hunting. It's a comedy series, not reality ghost hunting. Okay, Simon Lacau and his buddy, although Simon has no part in it whatsoever, hardly. I don't know why they even gave him billing. But I was not overly impressed with it.
It keeps showing up on my list. I just haven't tuned in yet. I've been watching some documentaries over there.
Yeah, if I'd say if you watch anything paranormal, then it's going to pop up on your list. The Truth Seekers, yes. Melissa in the chat room, one of our resident nerds, Simon, Pegg, and Nick Frost. That's why I love having the chat room right here, because everybody can just bail my ass out.
And see, I didn't even realize those were the guys behind that, so I may actually check that out now.
See, I remember when they were talking about doing it. So I was kind of watching for it, and then one day it's already been out for like a year now, and so I went back and caught it. And it's not the ghost part. It's just not. It's not up to the humor standards that I expect out of those 2. Is the way I would put it. That's my opinion of it.
It's no. Shaun of the Dead.
No, not even close. Not even in the same. No. It's if it were, I'll put it this way: if it was a couple of guys doing a YouTube series, I'd say that's damn good work.
Yeah,
it's you know, but when your expectations are so high, I would say it falls short. Everybody, we do have a CyberCon. Oh, there we go. Oh, hell. No, I thought it was losing Chad. I'm actually gaining Joe. So let's see. How do we add merge call?
Hey.
There we go.
Just working.
Actually, something freaking worked.
So something worked. Now, I'll go ahead and give you the same warning if you didn't get to hear it, Joe. If the call drops, it's probably on my end because I switched internet providers and.
Didn't you say your internet provider was going to be amazing now? It's going to be the best thing since I don't know.
No, I have not said that. All I have said is that they said it was faster, and it is. It's almost twice as fast at times as what I've been used to. However, because it is through AT&T, I don't have a lot of faith in the stability of it.
Oh,
yeah, because
that's okay.
Because I believe that we had AT&T DSL, which we could not even begin to use to do the show, and then I went on through another program that gets through them, and we'll see how it works. But if nothing else, it's fast enough that when I go to upload the archives and crap like that, it won't take me like 3 days to upload an episode to YouTube.
Right.
So there's that. Have you seen The Truth Seekers yet?
Who, me?
Yes,
no.
you. Okay, well, that's what we were just talking about.
Okay.
I'll
join in. Are we live? We're not live, are we?
Of course we are.
We're live?
That's why I actually said I would call you.
Put die and shit in it.
I would call you during the first commercial break. And
I know I accidentally called you testing my audio. Sorry.
Well, no, it worked out fine for us. We're cool. We've talked about that. I've been binge watching Deadpool. Two movies. I've watched each of them like 2 or 3 times this week. And after the commercial break, have you seen all of the Twilight movies?
Bits and pieces. It took me 4 days to watch the first Twilight movie. This is a true story. And the 4th day, and this is years ago, it was right after it came out. And the 4th day, I finished it and laughed my ass off when I realized, these are emotionally stunted 35-year-olds trying to pretend they're 15.
Yeah, that's a. You got to admit though,
that guy in his 5 head. Yeah, no, the women love our pats. I don't know.
I've got all kinds of notes that I took on it. I was going to write a review, and I said, what?
Oh my God, the CGI in those movies is such shit, and they made a ton of money. A ton of money on
now, okay. Well, before we go, what was the CGI that you hated? The only CGI I picked apart is in the last episode. I guess it is. They have a baby. And
I don't know. All the werewolf things I thought were bad.
The Flash had not cut ground for them to describe how somebody runs fast. Maybe that's what you're complaining about. But anyway,
I haven't seen them in years. Why did you watch them?
Because on a dare from a friend of mine, he's been wanting me to do a movie review in my own. Oh, of course I do written reviews normally,
right? And
he wanted me to do Twilight because I've been doing horror movies, and I put it off, and lately I think it's IMDb TV. I think that's what they're on. They had all 5 of them, which to give you an idea how much I enjoyed them, I thought there were only 4 of them. Even after I watched them, I realized that they had just all blurred together in some conglomerated, sparkly vampire mess.
I was going to say, if you watched them, that probably seemed like 10.
I think it was episode. I made a note on one of them. Oh, I think it was it might have been 3, and they're on their honeymoon, and it felt like it was in real time.
Is there really one where they're on a honeymoon? I don't remember any of this shit.
But the honeymoon seemed to drag out because it did feel like it was in real time. Everybody, we're going to take our first commercial break and be right back with more Scarefest television if we can get the commercial to load. Everyone is talking about CBD oil. Most of us know that CBD is a cannabis compound that has significant medical benefits, but does not make people high. Its benefits include pain relief, anti-seizure properties, anxiety relief, fights cancer, reduces the risk of diabetes, and it is even used as a sleep aid. Blue Leaf Naturals CBD and hemp products are full-spectrum hemp extract oils.
They use only hemp grown in Kentucky, supporting Kentucky farmers and businesses and helping you and your family stay healthy and well. Blue Leaf Naturals, created with care from seed to shelf. Visit their website at blueleafnaturals.com. Blue Leaf Naturals, a Kentucky proud company.
Hey, Scarefest fans. This is Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly. It's a short week. I spent most of my time watching Bly Manor in the last 2 weeks. Do that review last week, which somehow wasn't on Facebook. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I want to talk about a guy, a director from the 80s. He's made some stuff since then. He's done some writing. He worked on the last Predator movie with his buddy Shane Black, but his name's Fred Dekker. I'm a fan of Fred Dekker's, and you're probably a fan of Fred Dekker's too, and you just don't know it. I've mentioned him on here before. He wrote one of my favorite Tales from the Crypt episodes. But he did 2 movies when he was hot shit coming out of film school, and they came out in the mid-'80s, and neither one of them did really well. So the first one was this little thing called Night of the Creeps. Night of the Creeps is a batshit film that has zombies, aliens, more aliens, stupid teenagers, college students, a great soundtrack, one of the best character actors of all time, Tom Atkins. Slugs, space slugs. If you ever seen a movie called Slither, which I highly recommend, one of my favorite films, James Gunn. It rips a lot off of this, even though he says it didn't. Night of the Creeps is a lot of fun, but it wasn't a big success. He'd already signed the deal to do his second film, which you all probably know even better, Monster Squad, before that actually came out. Now, the Monster Squad is considered probably his best film, but I'm here to argue a point that it isn't. Now, you all are going to tell me I'm a horrible human being and the Monster Squad is part of your childhood, and how could I dare ever say a bad thing about it? Well, I'm not going to say a bad thing about it. I like Monster Squad too, but have you watched it recently? Have you actually watched Wolfman Has Nars recently? Scenes hold up. It's great. It's about 82 minutes. It flies by, but this thing has plot holes big enough to drive a freaking truck through. Dracula just shows up in certain places, certain instances. I only get 4 minutes on here, so it's hard to break it all down. What I'd like for you to do this Thanksgiving weekend is stay safe and eat a lot. But past that, I want you to do me a favor. I want to get an argument out of some of you. Not necessarily an argument, but let's say some sort of dialogue, if you will, between Night of the Creeps and the Monster Squad. Now, this wasn't a big hit. You remember it being famous and it's, oh my God, Monster Squad, because it played on HBO 5,000 times when you were a child. Looking back, I don't even think this cracked the top 10 when it came out. It almost killed his career. And then a few years later, he got the chance to make another movie, which was a sequel that did finish his directing career. It was called Robocop 3. I still like Fred Dekker. I still really like both of these movies. I'm just here to say that Night of the Creeps is superior to the Monster Squad. Now, here's what you do. You either go to Evil Joe, Twitter, or look me up on Facebook, Joe Lewis. Feel free to add me or argue with me, and tell me why you think Monster Squad is better than Night of the Creeps. Now, I want you to look at them both, rewatch them, and come back to me. Come right back to me. This movie, a lot of fun. Kids are great. Doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. This movie, a lot of fun, has some nudity, blood, guts, gore. It doesn't quite have the flaws that this one does. So if you could, come back to me and tell me why I should prefer Monster Squad more than Night of the Creeps, I'll be so excited. So you can find me on Evil Joe on Twitter or Joe Lewis on Facebook. Or you can just send all your hate mail to Wes. Wes likes hate mail. I really think Wes likes hate. That's okay, though. I love Wes. And I love everybody. And I love all you. Well, I don't love everybody, but I love my Scarefest family. So this is Joe Lewis. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Tune in next week for a review of something that'll be new, I promise, when I have a few more hours. Stay safe.
And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest Television. We understand that we're having a little glitchy video tonight. We've got some settings we can still tinker with that might make it more enjoyable in the future, but hopefully the archive is coming out absolutely flawless. We've got a few announcements now to go over, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Don't forget CyberCon's new date is January 9th, 2021. We've moved that to January so we have time to actually do it correctly. And we have a guest announcement. Mr. Tom Fridley. Of course, you know him from Friday the 13th, Part 6, when he was dry-humped by Darcy DeMoss. And then he was being Karate Kid, Face Off Phenomenon, a whole bunch of stuff, but he is famous for being the cute guy with the pretty hair from Friday the 13th. And by the way, we're still trying to get together a film festival for the January edition of CyberCon, and we're running low on submissions. So if you know an independent filmmaker who does short films for the horror genre, have them submit them to scarefestradio@gmail.com. We would love to have them. The Central Kentucky Mystical Market has been canceled for December. We were talking about it last week, and they canceled it like an hour after the show. So Central Kentucky Mystical Market that was due in December, we're moving it back to January, hoping that some of this COVID crap is over with by then. Next week on the show, we've had to move up Letters to Santa. I haven't posted that yet, but Letters to Really Bad Santa has been moved up, and that is because Darcy DeMoss had to reschedule her episode that was set for next week. So we moved her to the 11th. We've swapped dates. It's really easy. And now we're going back to everybody. I am joined by Joe Lewis and Chad Harlan. And now, okay, I wanted to talk about the Twilight series, and nobody remembers it or haven't watched it or anything. First of all, I'm going to say that in my humble opinion, had they not added the sparkly vampire feature, I think more horror fans would have liked this, because there's plenty of blood and guts and action in it.
I don't know. It was...
Well, first of all,
was shit with really one-dimensional acting, some really great actors in it, by the way, especially later on when they got more money because they made so much money. What's her face? What's the name of the actress in the movie that plays the Janie No Interest? What's the lead actress?
You talking about Kristen Stewart?
Kristen Stewart. Yeah. She's in a good movie I did a review for that I recommended everybody watch, Underwater, that nobody saw back last January.
I think several of them have gone on to make some decent movies. I think it was more script and directing. It was just painful to watch what I tried to watch.
Okay, of the 5 parts, now, first of all, I'm going to say I didn't hate the first one. And here's interesting. Joe, you know how I always make fun of you because you say you love the movie till the last 15 minutes or whatever?
Well, you also make fun of other things about me too, but let's not go on about that on here. I mean, it's kind of rude. Nothing grows in the shade, Wes.
I'm going to point out that, okay, this entire series, if it wasn't for arguably needing the storyline to get to the very last one, and the very last movie of the series, the last 15 minutes of it rocked. And so, in other words, you think a normal movie's bad where you have to wait for the good part? I waited 5 freaking movies to get to the good part. And arguably, I should have seen it coming, but I didn't. And they had a little plot twist at the very end, or a little twist at the end. So that's kind of I didn't hate the first one. That's my point.
I still don't understand. Why do you try to take up this whole? Why is it because you spent all this time and now you feel like I've got to at least talk about it? Because
yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
My friend Brian Ray has been challenging me. He's been challenging me for years to review this, for at least 2 years. And so I decided to watch it this week and review it. and I've got all my little notes here, and I decided to do it on the show tonight because we got nothing else to talk about, really.
We could talk about 5,000 things.
There is too much teen angst. I will agree with that. And the long living looks. Now the CGI. I was going to talk about the CGI.
Yes.
I didn't. Okay, yeah, the speedy vampire. Sometimes that got a little weak. But now, if you want to see bad CGI, go to the very last episode and watch the baby. For some reason, they decided the baby needed to have the exact face of what she was going to look like when she was 6 or 10 years old, whatever the hell it is. And they superimposed that face onto this baby, and it was worse than Henry Cavill's Superman in Justice League. That's
with the mustache.
Yes, the whole mustache thing.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was. Now, some things I liked about it. Well, I don't know. It's they're hard to quantify. I thought the fight scenes were weird. Every time the vampires would fight somebody, everybody who haven't seen the series, this is how vampires fight. They clothesline each other a lot. And I guess it's because they run so fast, they figure all they gotta do is stick their arm out and they'll take somebody's head off. That's the only reason I can figure those fight scenes being choreographed the way they are.
The longest yard offense.
Yeah. And I mean, there were okay, like somebody asked me online if I was Team Jacob or Team Ed. I went with Jacob the werewolf, and the reason is this was a part that creeped me out from the beginning. Now, Interview with the Vampire addressed this. When Kirsten Dunst got bit as a 10-year-old or whatever she was, her problem was that she became older even though her body didn't. So she was this 100-year-old woman in the prime of her life, oddly enough, trapped in a 10-year-old body. Now, switch that over to Edward. Edward is 109, 110 years old, and he's hitting on a 17-year-old girl. I thought that was creepy.
It's
sorry.
all creepy. It's all statutory. It's all every bit of it. Every time I see it, I just want to start screaming, "Strawberry wine, 17."
Okay, now
whenever anybody's asked me which team I'm on, Edward or Jacob, I always answer Team Blade. I wish he'd just show up and get rid of all of them.
Okay, fair enough. Now, we're going to do our second commercial break, everybody. When we come back, we're going to talk about whatever Joe's been watching.
Probably non-horror, but yeah.
Mama Ruby offers fun vendor-based events that focus primarily on the metaphysical and spiritual aspects of our lives. Well, 2020 didn't go as planned, to say the least. Since Mama Ruby's can't bring the vendors to you in person, they still encourage you to support them online. For links to these and other outstanding artists, craftspeople, vendors, and psychics, visit mamarubies.com and click shop.
Horror. Movie. Fans. 4. Life. Find us. 4 news. 4 memes. 4 life.
Even Crystal Skull.
And welcome back. See, they're still talking Indiana Jones. Chad has been watching the Indiana Jones movies. Joe, we'll just continue the conversation that you were having behind the scenes. Everybody, when Joe said he would do reviews for us, this was pre-COVID, and he was so looking forward to being able to go to the actual real world movies.
I was. It's true. It's true. Wes said, "Oh, because for some of you all that know me well, I have. Well, he's now 3.5. Well, he's almost 3.5, and he takes up a lot of time, like anybody else who has children." And I was like, "Oh, this is give me an excuse. No, I got to go out and see that movie. I've got to do a review for Scarefest this week. I need these 3 hours of doing a line before I go." No, I'm joking about that. But and then COVID hit, so it's sometimes. And I've told Wes this, I still enjoy it, but sometimes it's a bitch to try to come up with something because you're even looking through streaming. There's some of the shit I just don't even want to sit through. It looks so bad. At 10 o'clock at night, you get him to bed, you have to work, and then you finally, well, I'll dedicate an hour and a half to this. I mean, for stuff like, I just finished Bly Manor, and I bet a lot of people on here have already watched The Haunting of Bly Manor. I did the review last week. It's a 9-hour commitment, so I enjoy it. I love The Haunting of Hill House. I liked Bly Manor, but it's a 9-hour commitment. So it's about 2 weeks to get in 4 minutes. And how do you review something in 9 hours? That's 9 hours long and 4 minutes too. That's a pain. But I mean, I enjoy it. I like the fact that you only give me 4.5 minutes because you just sit there. I do my thing and then I go back and just cut it down.
That's
quick.
And I mean,
pretty
The
much the
Haunting of
story
Bly
of my
Manor
life.
should have been about 4.5 minutes. It was.
Did you not like it?
I liked the idea and the concept behind it. Actually, I thought it was acted very well, but it was so slow. I had so much time. I had such a hard time.
Chad, it's not a horror show. I said that in my review. It's a ghost story. It even says it's a ghost story, and then you about midway through it, it's really a ghost love story.
Yeah,
that's what it is. And 9 hours later, and then if you know anything about Henry James, and Henry James is writing like The Turn of the Screw, then yes, it's very much in that vein of it. Like The Haunting of Hill House is very much in the vein of The Haunting by Shirley Jackson. So the guy that did those also directed Dr. Sleep and Hush, and he's a real talented dude. And I love his work. But you're right. It's I think the closest thing that's to that. Did you see Crimson Peak by Del Toro? Yeah, that's very close. Crimson Peak's prettier, but it's very much a ghost story, mystery.
Like I said, I like the concept behind it and the story, and it was too slow for me. I had a hard time, but I stayed with it. I didn't walk out like I did on Twilight.
I'm impressed, Wes, that you did all of them. Now, how old are you again, Wes? Are you 38, 39?
At least
38, 39. Yes. So that took a lot of stamina, man, because those movies are bad.
In summary, the first one, see, that's one reason I did it. You ask why I did it. I didn't remember absolutely hating the first one when I did watch the first one year when it came out. And so I said, well, how bad could the rest of them be? And yeah, they were pretty bad. Until, like I said, and the last one was sucked ass until the final scene, and I went, didn't see that coming. And so anyway, in other words, anytime a movie pulls something over my eyes, or however you want to put it, I have to give them cred for that. So there.
I'm with you on that, man. I agree. That's the same thing. I was watching something earlier, or Chad, not this Chad, but my other friend Chad. His wife will sometimes look at him real weird, and he'll say, "This is about to happen," and it happens, and she thinks he's some sort of soothsayer or can see, and he's Nostradamus. It's like, no, it's just shitty writing, and I've seen 5 million movies. I know exactly what the hell's going to happen.
The embarrassing part about not seeing the end of it coming is, I won't say they foreshadowed it, but it was a plot feature that I should not have just forgot about. And but when it happened, I went, well, son of a bitch. And so I'm giving them credit for that. Then let's face it, if your target audience are teenage girls who think they want a vampire, then they could not have done a better job.
Probably. I got a question for you all. That leads me to one, though. What big movie franchises, doesn't necessarily have to be horror, but what big movie franchises do you guys think are overrated or that you dislike?
Well, honestly, now the Indiana Jones series, to me, was on a solid downward arch. In other words, I loved the first one. I liked the second one. But as the series went on, by the time, and of course, everybody in the chat room is saying, don't even mention Crystal Skull. That, to me, that's kind of the way the entire series went. So in other words, I felt it was getting a little long in the tooth. Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I think this is, in other words, this is one of those things, it's not that controversial. I think because so much of it was written to fill in the gaps. In other words, he had the first movie and it went really good. And so he continued the story. Then everybody said, well, what happened before that? Then he jumped, I think a lot of that.
Filler. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I'm a huge Star Wars fan, as you can see behind me. It can be filler.
Yeah.
Have you watched The Mandalorian?
Yes, I have watched The Mandalorian. I am enjoying it thoroughly. I am a big proponent of the guy in the blue jeans behind the pillar.
I missed it. I tell you, you think you're a nerd or a geek, and then you get online 24 hours after one of those drops, and they are picking them apart, and shit, you're like, I'm not a nerd or a geek. I didn't see any of that.
Well, see, now I don't. I did not notice it during the show.
Oh, I didn't either.
Part of it is because I have really shitty eyesight, and so I can't even read the subtitles now when they're on the TV. But I'll put it this way. The way Star Wars has went in the past, because they made that mistake, I fully expect an episode in the upcoming season where there's going to be a guy in blue jeans who is like the janitor at that place, and the story will be centered around him, and they will write him in, and everybody will go, foreshadowing!
Yeah, I hate to get on the bandwagon, but like every other Star Wars fan out there, I think that Mandalorian is just fantastic. It's probably what Star Wars really should be, is a really kick-ass, expensive TV series. I mean, you could just do more with it and explore the world. Because movies are so big, and there's so much riding on them when they come out. I mean, it's just a pain.
It's driven me. I've gone back. I'm actually, right before we started this, I've been watching the Clone Wars. So I can kind of fill in some of those blanks, because there's so many references in Clone Wars.
Right, Chad. Right. I've never watched all of Clone Wars.
I tried.
I got out of it.
See, now I tried to watch the Clone Wars. I watched a little bit of it, and it did not appeal to me. It just, yeah.
Now, I didn't watch it because it was animated, but now I go back, it's like, well, I got to fill in these blanks so I understand the Mandalorian.
Yeah, no, I watched Rebels and Resistance and enjoyed both of those, but now I got to go back and watch some. I've watched some of them, but I've not watched all of them. I got to do it eventually. But what are you guys watching? What are you all streaming? What do you like? I'm curious.
See, that's where I geek out. I watch a lot of documentaries and stuff. So,
what's a good documentary you saw lately?
I watched one yesterday, or day before yesterday, on the not Magic the Gathering, Vampire the Masquerade.
Okay.
Which live action role playing game. And it drew me in because I actually spoke about a guy from Murray, Kentucky that killed some people because he was way into that game last year at Scarefest. So now I'm going back and learning.
And killed somebody.
No, he just got into it so much he thought he was a vampire. Uh-oh. So he was rescuing his girlfriend from her parents and wiped out her family.
And this happened back in Murray.
The 90s. No, he was from Murray. It happened in Florida.
Oh,
he was that was back in the 90s. So it made a lot of news back then. But so now I was trying to learn a little more about the game so I'd understand the history a little more.
Damn. What about you, Wes? What are you watching right now?
I had a lot of time by the time I watched 5 Twilight movies, Deadpool 3 times each, and I watched some. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember what the horror movie was. I took a Shudder recommendation, and it didn't. I don't remember being all that impressed with it. Now, from the chat room, this actually goes back to I don't tend to like remakes.
Yeah.
The exception, oddly enough, now the Halloween remake, I've seen the first one. I thought it did a really good job. I'm not, once again, my usual thing is it just didn't need to be done, but I did like the way they did
Agreed.
it. I didn't.
I agree. I like Rob Zombie's picture.
Chucky, the talking doll.
Child's Play.
Yeah, Child's Play. I thought the remake of it was both useless and I was not impressed with. Actually, my biggest objection to that was the doll. Nobody would bring that doll into their house. It was creepier looking than the entire concept. Now now going on, Melissa Nicholson in the chat room did not like Jaws.
Don't even give her airtime about it.
Well, the thing is, I'm wondering if maybe I'm actually admitting that I could be wrong. Maybe some of these movies do need to be remade so that a new generation of pseudo nerds,
not Jaws.
I went and saw that, dude. I went and
a dozen times, just under different names.
Now he's got a great point there, and not all of them were shark movies. We had giant octopus films. We had giant whales attacking. There was Orca with Richard Harris.
Anaconda.
Yeah, they have remade Jaws about 5 million. You've got good job, Chad. That's really smart. Don't tell anybody I said that. I'm joking, but no, you're absolutely right. And then they've made 5 billion shark attack movies, all ranging in budgets from like Meg or Deep Blue Sea to Sharknado. God, but yeah, I have Jaws is one of those to me that's almost perfect. So it's hard for me to imagine. It would be like, I was about to say like remaking Psycho, but they totally remade Psycho.
One that came up on my suggestion list. I am thinking about watching Llamageddon just because that is such a cool concept. A llama from outer space that goes on a murderous rampage.
Yeah. And there's a movie from New Zealand or Australia, I can't remember, a few years ago called Black Sheep about these zombie sheep. Have you seen it?
No.
Oh, it's hilarious. I highly recommend it. And it's actually not a terrible movie. It's a lot of fun.
Now, I do want to, talking about overrated movie series of movies. And I have to, Meredith, I'm going to kind of agree with you because this was another one I bailed on early. Fast and Furious.
I agree with her completely.
The only thing I'll say is I think, okay, if I remember correctly, I remember thinking the first one was, okay, not my genre, not my, but then the second one, I think is the reason I quit watching the entire series. I think that's the one where it's new characters and they're in Japan and that's where drifting.
It's the third one. I think it's the third one.
Okay.
Okay,
maybe it is.
I actually know which ones they are. I've seen most of them.
Yeah, so I like them.
I don't care for them. I like the Hobbs and Shaw one. Is the only one that I liked.
They have absolutely no basis on reality and don't connect together, because how does a bunch of criminals that are robbing trucks all of a sudden become superheroes that are working for the CIA? But other than that, they're entertaining to watch.
Yeah, I guess I miss it. I don't know. I have a hard time with the Fast and the Furious one. I did like Hobbs and Shaw, and I think the reason I liked that one was because I thought there was a lot of humor in it. And I don't know that there's a lot of humor in the other Fast and Furious films. If I have to hear Vin Diesel talk about family one more effing time.
Everybody, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back more with our just terribly adept movie critiques.
TellMeTarot.com. Rare tarot and oracle decks for the discerning enthusiast or collector. Our decks are not for everyone. If you are a rare deck collector, art collector, or simply fall in love with a deck, then we might be for you. Right now, get 10% off your first order just for subscribing to their newsletter. Shipping is just $5.99 in the United States. TellMeTarot.com.
Spirit Mechanics is here to help. Their background includes many different specialties across the metaphysical spectrum, including alchemy, shamanism, Celtic witchcraft, angelic magic, astral travel, and more.
With over 30 years combined experience in the group, you can be confident in their ability to help. If there is a question you have that you cannot answer, they will do their best to assist you.
Metaphysics can be intimidating, confusing, and unfortunately, abused. Spirit Mechanics takes pride in being selfless in the pursuit of helping others, being humble and honest with their clients about their questions, and lastly, maintaining a professional and personable atmosphere. They want you to feel as you are coming to a close friend, and they will do everything in their power to make you comfortable and safe.
Coyote Chris Sutton.
Shamanism.
Spiritual advisement.
Paranormal investigations.
Inspirational presentations.
Bringing light to the darkest places for over 20 years. Go to coyotechris.com to learn more.
Hello, everybody.
Hey,
welcome back.
Yeah.
By the way, Melissa, we're trashing you during the commercial breaks.
Yeah, I was trashing you.
Melissa has pointed out, for the viewers that are not in the chat room, Melissa Nicholson has, and she has her own podcast, has been pointing out movies that are classics to us old folks that she just watched and just didn't get into. And we were discussing whether it's a Canadian thing, she's Canadian, or whether I think it's the age thing, and that's where I was talking about remakes.
She's in the head.
I think some of these movies, because they relied on what worked back in the early 80s, late 70s, whatever, just does not appeal to this younger crowd.
I'll throw out a different theory, especially with Jaws. I'm a scuba diver. I have dove with sharks all over the place. Don't have any worries about them, but I cannot watch Jaws. I have never been able to watch Jaws. It messes with my head.
Does it really?
It does. Any amount of blood and gore in a horror movie doesn't bother me at all, but Jaws messes with me.
You know, for you two, and I'm giving Melissa a shit. I like Melissa. Don't tell her I said that, though. She's listening. We'll just pretend I never said it. Although she's young and needs to watch more movies. Jaws, I think, holds up. You know, the shark's obviously fake. Of course, it's all fake. It's a movie. It's fucking fake. I mean, it's freaking fake.
Actually, we needed that. If you haven't heard, Joe, where YouTube's going to start monetizing everybody's videos, we want the F-bomb dropped at least once per episode.
All right. Well, there's your one fuck. So, Jaws, of course, it all looks fake. What the reason that movie holds up is the acting. Is the acting and directing. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you don't know how many, until you think about it, how many movies, like we were just talking about, ripped it off. Same thing with The Exorcist. If you're around, the reason that movie holds up, it's an hour before anything happens. And it's the build-up, it's the slow build-up of seeing this little girl tortured through medical stuff. In fact, when people got sick in the theater, when did The Exorcist come out? 72, 73? It wasn't when she was puking. It was when they were doing the spinal tap. Is when people freaked out and left the theater and passed out a lot, if you look it up. So it's fascinating to me. We probably look at it differently, but the performances in those two films are what hold together, actually.
So arguably, basically, the things that make a movie a classic, for the most part, are originality. And back then, that was pretty original. And Jaws was original.
You never seen anything like those two movies when it's like Psycho. Right. If you'd have walked in the theater in 1959 or 60, you never seen shit like that. And then at the end of it, he's dressed up like his mom, pretending to kill people. Hitchcock broke barriers. The same thing with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. People think it's a very brutal film. I don't think that they pay attention to it. If they go back and look, there's very little blood. It's just in your head that it is. And nobody saw shit like that. That's obviously made by madmen. If you've seen it for the first time. Blair Witch is another example. People think, Blair Witch sucks. If you walked into a movie theater in 97 or whenever Blair Witch came out, out 95, never seen anything like that.
And it was the first debate about whether it was real.
That's the thing. You're absolutely right, Chad. I mean, I probably was in the first year of college or something, and It was all over the internet. It's like, this is real. This was found footage. These people actually died.
Well, now part of that though was actual marketing on their part. They told all these actors, "You disappear. You're gone." That's, and, but yeah, but absolutely. And now when you look back at it, you can watch it and go, "Well, this isn't scary." But
no, you've seen 400 ripoffs of it because originality. That's what happens. Melissa Nicholson. These movies don't age well. Oh, dearie dear.
Now, but okay, now what we need to do, actually, I wish I should have captured actually, I still can. We should capture the chat room on this episode, and then 20 years from now, I want her to go back and look at what she's watching now and listen to the kids in, 30 years from now going, Terrifier sucked. Big deal. Hacksaw down the middle,
Well, I don't. The thing that I don't understand, I'm actually not going to pick on Melissa. I do like her. The thing I don't understand about I shouldn't say all young people, but some young people is that a lack of appreciation sometimes for things. For example, I wasn't around when Citizen Kane came out, but I appreciate it. I like it. I can enjoy it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For what it is. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever watched it all the way through.
Oh, you should.
But
I have an obsession with Orson Welles. That's a whole other story.
Now, I will also add, and you see this at Scarefest, some of our favorite movies, their biggest fans are 5 and 6 year olds who are, their parents, in other words, are our age, enjoy those movies and have exposed their children to them. So they do have a new fan base. And because these kids have not watched some of this other stuff, they still think that, Jason is the scariest thing they've ever seen. And so, so in other words, it's what you're used to.
Absolutely.
It's society shift too. I mean, like you said, Halloween in 1978. I mean, it was an R movie, but you look at it now and it's tame compared to The Walking Dead.
Absolutely.
You got to look at it nobody would be scared by that now if they showed their kids, really. In fact, I saw Danielle Harris on Halloween was on Instagram showing how she was showing her Halloween movie to like her 5 or 6 year old kid. Yep. It doesn't hold up as scary anymore just because of what everybody's exposed to. But that doesn't mean that it's not a well-made, well-acted, and well-directed movie. You still can enjoy it.
And
for the
once
time
again,
period.
Chad, how many movies have ripped off Halloween? That's how you know it's a classic.
Right.
That's how you know it stands up to the test of time, is the imitation. And Wes, you're absolutely right. Movies are reintroduced to generation after generation. For example, my son's obsessed with Ghostbusters. I can't blame anybody else but who? This guy. It just, I didn't know. I thought I'll show him a little bit of this, and I'll be damned, a year and a half later, he's still obsessed with it and loves it. It's just, and it's a cool thing that you can just share with your kids and maybe with your grandkids. I'm not a huge Friday the 13th fan, but it's awesome that these people clearly are connecting and loving one another and sharing something. And it's a beautiful thing, but don't let anybody say I said anything nice.
So
emotional.
And let's see. The now another one we brought up was the Simon Pegg movie. Did we talk about that earlier with you, Joe?
Shaun of the Dead?
No. Well, the series that he's involved in now that came out on Amazon.
Is it good? With him and Nick Frost.
Well, first of all, Simon doesn't have 2 minutes per episode. I don't even know why he got billing them.
That's the True Seekers.
Yeah, True Seekers.
I haven't watched it yet. Yeah.
Now here, this is me being callous because I'm so used to how hilarious their movies are when they're together that I was disappointed in it because to me it felt kind of dry. It just.
Him and Nick Frost were in that movie Slaughterhouse Rules, and I did a review for it, and that's the most scathing review I've done for any movie that I've done. And I remember it cuts back to you and Brandon. Brandon was on that weekend. You both were just because it was like shit in a bucket and watch it, and it'll be better than this piece of shit. And and you can see Brandon just kind of shaking his head when he comes back to me after me. It was awful. And I love Simon Pegg and I love Nick Frost, but yes, they can do some shit.
I was gonna say, I think several of their things have been misses. They've got some really good stuff out there, but they're not above making a stinker.
No, absolutely not.
Well, everybody, we have muddled through this show. Once again, Scott Porter could not be with us tonight. He has said that if he can at all work it out during the upcoming holiday season, either on the day after Christmas or the day after New Year's, he will join us to make up for it. And he doesn't have that much going on, so I'm sure he'll be around. Then I do. Oh, by the way, I want to give a shout out to Mike Fulkerson. He's my newest patron for the Patreon project that we're doing. And two things I want to throw out there to everybody. I haven't announced it publicly on Facebook yet, but we are looking for another horror movie co-host. If you're interested, put together a video clip of you talking about some movie, just like we've done tonight. And we might just be back in touch with you, but we're gonna do it the old-fashioned way, where I'm not gonna walk up to some chick in a bar and find out that she likes horror movies. CC. I'm actually going to audition people for it. And another thing I'm wondering, we'll try to get some feedback in the chat room.
Yeah, watch out for that couch. It was a bitch.
Oh my God.
The other thing is, I'm wondering, people in the chat room, of course, you all are watching it. We're thinking about going back and doing like we used to, where we pull the audio out of an episode and put it out on iTunes and the other streaming podcast services so that you can listen to it in your car. We've gotten so video oriented that we kind of pulled that, but now we're not doing as much video because there's no new video out there. There's no trailers to play. So we are thinking about bringing that back. I'd like to hear some feedback in the chat room or on Facebook. Let us know what you think about whether that's worth our trouble or not. And thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on short notice tonight.
Oh, thank you. Enjoyed it. Yeah.
So everybody, we'll be back.
My day.
We'll be back next week. Don't forget, Letters to Santa. Really Bad Santa will be on next week. I've got to come up with enough content to fill an entire hour of Really Bad Santa. But so in other words, there'll be cosplay. See you next time.